Hey, good morning, everybody. This is People of Substance by LemonSkies. I am thrilled to have my next guest on this episode, Raeshawn Crosson, who's Executive Director of DMAW. If you're not a member, you should probably join. It's a great group of folks, especially for those in direct response, and there's a special rate for nonprofit professionals. They don't pay me to do this. Okay, Raeshawn, please introduce yourself to the viewers.
Sure. So I am Raeshawn Crosson. I am, as Olga says, I am the Executive Director for DMAW, Native Washingtonian, long living executive of multiple nonprofits within the area, but super thrilled to be talking to Olga this morning.
So let me just jump right in. I would love to know about your journey to nonprofit sector. How did you end up here? Was this intentional, or were you one of those anthropology majors that strayed?
So I wasn't an anthropology major, but I was an advertising and PR major. So I started at an agency in Philadelphia. So I did undergrad at Temple. Still didn't know that I was going to go into either marketing or the nonprofit sector, but I fell into it. I wanted to be a record label executive. That didn't work out. And so I actually started my work in PR campaigns for government officials. So running small campaigns for school board presidents, city council members within DC. And so that was my introduction to government. I spent about a decade or so in district government, overseeing a couple of big functions at the state education office in DC. So early childhood education, a lot of our community-based organization supports for childcare providers, student transportation. So all things education at the state level, that was me. I served as their COO for over a decade. But what I quickly realized when I maxed out my seniority in the district government, that the CBOs or nonprofit organizations that I supported, they weren't able to sustain. So it was my idea, once I left government, was to start my own standalone organization to help support nonprofits thrive in government-driven markets. So from resource development to fundraising to business process reengineering. So I stepped out of my government role, started my own consultancy, and started to support nonprofit organizations with my intel to help them be able to apply for grants, developing fundraising campaigns, or just being able to effectively operate. Because the one thing I realize is that usually founders or executives, they have the mission, but they don't quite have the infrastructure to sustain. I have the infrastructure, and so I've used my skill set to kind of pair it with nonprofit leaders to figure out how they can sustain over time. Did that for some time, scaled up my business, began to get bored, and wanted to explore more opportunities within the education and association realm. I then went on to run a national association that was around workforce development within the electrical trade. So I did that for about 5 years. And I quickly realized that that wasn't my passion. I was great at it, but it wasn't my passion. Continued to do some work within the trade world, went back to do some more support for nonprofits, and then stumbled upon this great opportunity, mixing my background in marketing and communications paired with my association background. It just seemed like a great fit. And also DMAW is at a point where there is opportunity for exponential growth, and I'm always up for a challenge. And so that's how I've gotten here. And that's my love language to nonprofits.
Yeah, and how many days are we in? We're like 100 days in or something close to it.
We're close to 100 days in.
Perfect. So I guess my question to you is, what is it like to step into this role? Because we've all worked for causes, but DMAW is almost like it's very kind of meta, right? Because it's an association of fundraising marketing professionals, so it's almost like insider association. What has that been like for you?
So it has been very fruitful for me. One, because the whole sole purpose is to help build the capacity of professionals within this space that touch multiple causes. So I get excited just talking to the individual members about, projects and campaigns that they're working on, because we're helping them to strengthen their tools within their toolbox so they can be effective on their campaign. So it's actually very rewarding for me to not only focus on one nonprofit, but multiple nonprofits, and how we can really strengthen our workforce and within our industry to be very effective for all nonprofits. And so it's been very exciting, very fruitful, just to kind of hear some of the stories and the impact that our members are making.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. And, we try to kind of get to know people that come on interviews outside of what they do on a day-to-day basis. Can you talk a little bit about who do you consider some of the role models, mentors in our space? A lot of what we learn ends up being learning on the job, right? Like even if you have nonprofit-oriented degree, you still end up picking up a lot about the sector while you're already in the sector. Are there individuals that come to mind?
So I'm starting to learn everyone, but I will say that you don't need a degree to do this job. You need the relationships. And the one thing that I've learned in my first 100 days, I knew no one on DMAW's board, but they all have been mentors and teachers to me in this short period of time. Karen Kirchhoff has been amazing. She has a sharp knife, but she's very intentional about just her thinking and just the impact that she lays like with on her clients, that kind of resonates to the work that she's doing and leading our board. So that's just one example, but the entire DMAW board has been amazing. I'm a teacher at heart, but I use every moment as a teaching moment. And I would say that all of the board members, committee chairs, all the volunteers within DMAW, they use every moment that they communicate with our members as a teaching moment, to not only talk about how we can grow, but the actual process of growing and really trying to strategize. And so that's the most exciting thing. And it's ironic. The same strategies that we use to fundraise and market are the same strategies that we can use to grow our membership within DMAW. So I would say the entire board of DMAW has been great mentors to me within my first 100 days.
Yeah. Well, you kind of alluded to professional association and being a part of the sector. Do you feel like professional associations, not just for nonprofit marketers, but beyond, do you feel like professional associations have declined, and is it still important to bring people into these societies, associations with peers and professional like-minded folks?
And so it's actually interesting that you brought that up. We were just talking about that yesterday with our young professionals within DMAW. It has definitely declined, not because there's a lack of value, but the next generation, they see value differently. Yeah. Whereas, the millennials, they tend to grasp on to, recommendations from their peers. Whereas that next generation, they're like, did you text me? Are you on social media? How did you, help me with my career? So career development is a big key to this next generation, where that's only a slither of what professional organizations do, is help you with your career planning and, that network. And so if it doesn't have anything to do with my salary and how you're helping me to grow within my career, that next generation doesn't see that value. And I think we still have it as professional organizations, but we need to re-message and reorganize how we promote professional associations. The other thing, there is not consistency at the university level to promote the importance of professional organizations like it was when I was in undergrad. And so there is no direct push to create that pipeline. So now professional organizations, we need to do that work. And so where we didn't have to make the investment to kind of talk to those folks at the undergrad and grad level, we need to do that now, because there is not individuals who are at the administration level that either are a part of, or just kind of know the importance. But networking is important, especially in this virtual space. You don't get a chance to see anyone. And so I think being a part of professional organization will help you network and build that career pipeline that you're so desperately looking for. And so there has been a decline, but I think we have a lot to do at the professional association level to kind of dive deeper into promoting at the undergrad and grad level.
Yeah, and also instilling that sense of service, I guess, giving back to the field, right? That raises you.
Yep, you definitely do. I mean, the funny thing is, when I came out of school, you knew what job you were applying for, but some of these titles, who knows what it is? And so if it's not clear to that next generation, they won't even read the description. And so just building that connection, funneling that feedback, to our members to say, hey, folks don't understand what you do. And so just providing that intel will also help as well.
Yeah, no, the way we learn, the way we connect has shifted dramatically. And I mean, obviously you and I are chatting on the screen right now. We're not sitting across each other in a coffee shop. So.
Right.
Well, let me ask you this. That's an interesting point to talk about. What are some other big trends that nonprofits are facing? And I'm not talking about funding trends, but what are sort of more industry trends and how the business is done and, what's impactful, what's not impactful that you're seeing?
So aside from fundraising, just how they're funded. So fundraising for nonprofits is a slither of how they're funded. Access to federal funding has been a challenge, and being able to diversify their funding. So where do you look if your fundraising strategies have declined and federal funding has declined? Where do you look? And so being able to effectively diversify your funding streams has been a challenge for nonprofits. With a lot of political presidential orders that have come down, how does that really impact my organization? And a lot of nonprofits who have not advocated for themselves before are faced to quickly learn how to advocate for themselves and to understand how certain political decisions impact their day-to-day, whether it's health and human services or education. Everyone needs to pay closer attention to how things impact, how decisions within government, even though you may not get funding for it, some decisions may impact you long-term. Whereas the campaign finance funding, that whole piece that came out, even though it doesn't directly tie to one or two individual organizations, but those are potential donors that could be donating to your organization 3 to 5 years from now. And so it may not impact you now, but forward thinking and forecasting on what to think about. The other piece is community participation. And so a lot of folks have lifelong supporters, but they forget about garnering support from those net new people. And how do we communicate with them? Is it the traditional word of mouth, or do we need to ramp up social media? And so a lot of nonprofits haven't really done that complete shift to know how to effectively communicate with their audiences. And so a lot of folks are kind of going through that piece. Do we need a staff? Do we not need a staff? Do we need to hire an agency? And so there's a lot of infrastructure challenges that nonprofits are going through now, where they're having to pivot quickly and may not have that institutional knowledge to pivot. And so they're looking to webinars or just word of mouth or just free advice because they necessarily can't afford the advice. But also at professional associations, they're looking to those professional associations that they are part of to kind of see what are some of the trends, because it's not easily accessible for everyone.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And diversification of revenue. I mean, newsflash, you don't just turn on the tap and boom, it's diversified. Like, you really need to think ahead of it and plan for it, and kind of build the pipeline before you can start reaping the rewards. So well, let's talk a little bit about leadership. And oftentimes we read about the 5 a.m. club, or time blocking, or different habits of like daily reflection or daily priorities, or like the Pomodoro strategy where you kind of do little increments. Are there any, so I mean, some of them are probably effective. I'm a member of the 5 a.m. club, but I'm pretty useless for the first few hours of the day. Maybe awake, but that's not my best thinking time. Are there any leadership habits that you feel like are actually effective and not just sort of the buzzy trends?
So, Olga, I have tried them all and I have failed 90% of them. But I will say that the one habit that I have recently, within the last 2-3 years, is journaling. Mm-hmm. And so, I am a Post-it note, I love paper. And so I'm always writing throughout the day things that I need to do. But in the mornings, I take time to journal what I want to personally accomplish for the day and professionally accomplish. And so I just kind of put it there. And mm-hmm. then hopefully it will resonate with me. But it's an accountability checkpoint the next morning. This is what I read through what I've journaled the day before to just make sure. And then if I don't do it, I reaffirm it for the next day. Mm-hmm. But it's that set in stone, in writing, in black and white, what I have intended to do the previous day. And it's helped me stay focused and prioritize that work-life balance as well. But I put it all on one piece of paper. But journaling has really helped me, but as a use for accountability.
Well, it sounds like a lot of what you're describing, it's intentionality, right? Like it's being very purposeful. Like, here's what I'll achieve for the day. Well, let me ask you, and I've been enjoying getting to know you over these past few months. Can you talk a little bit about life outside of work? You talked about work-life balance. Are there causes you're involved with, organizations? Maybe you're an accomplished rower. Maybe, do you have 5 cats? Like, what is it that you do outside of work?
So I'm definitely not the athlete. So let's just get that clear. But I do have I'm intentional about work-life balance. And so I am a mother of 2. I have a son who is a junior in college. And so I'm not quite at the empty nest, but I'm in preparation because I do have a 13-year-old daughter, but she has special needs. Yeah. So a lot of the causes that I support outside of my professional life have a lot to do with children with special needs. I serve as the president for the national DC chapter of Parents with Visual Impairment. So I do a lot of advocacy and work around that piece. And then I also support Maryland Youth Ballet. They do adaptive ballet for children with disabilities. So I do a lot of fundraising for that. But outside of that, I love spending time with family. I want to work out, but that's just not in my cards for 2026 or 2027. So I'm just giving you guys a 2-year notice. But, I love to spend time with family. My kids are everything. And, you can often find me traveling. I love to travel. But that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Well, Raeshawn, thank you so much for spending the morning with me. Really appreciate it and appreciate all you're doing and how candid you are and just your perspective. Really valued, and I hope more people get involved with us and see what it's all about.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm excited about the journey. And if anyone needs encouragement or just have questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always available.
Wonderful to see you.